you would assume, right, that Miami would do whatever they possibly could to stack up as many draft picks as humanly possible for the incoming GM this upcoming offseason. Wouldn't you assume that? So the fact that we heard all of these players, Bradley Chubb with Jalen Waddle, that were getting interest, but Miami was standing pat and they needed a specific price point to let these guys walk, just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that they really were in a position to be picky as far as demanding a first for Jalen Waddle in this player, demanding a third rather than a fourth for Bradley Chubb, or demanding a second for Minkah Fitzpatrick. I'm looking at this in a variety of different ways, and I think that the Miami Dolphins completely dropped the ball. In fact, I would say out of every single team in the AFC East, I think they get the biggest or the worst grade during the NFL trade deadline for not going about it that way. Thoughts?
Yeah, I certainly can see where you're coming from, and I think it's kind of a rough bridge to walk across, because you don't just want to ship off players if you're a bad team just to ship them off. You know, our asking price is a first round for Waddle, but all we're getting is a fourth, so I guess we'll take it. You also don't want to do that, but I wonder if there's a world in which Miami could have met teams in the middle. Okay, we're asking for a first, but no team's willing to give us a first. A team's maybe willing to give us a second round pick. Okay, give us a second round pick and a fourth, a second round pick and a fifth. Meet in the middle, and that way you're getting some type of capital to be able to look forward to in 2026. And I just think that Miami just doesn't know what they're doing right now. You know, you fire the GM, but then we're hearing Mike McDaniels is still in the mix and that he's not going to be fired. He could still be returning, next year. And then you get to the trade deadline. They don't do anything. A few weeks ago, we heard that they were still looking to try and be competitive this year. And so it's this weird situation where they're trying to not fully go into a rebuild. They're trying to hold on to certain aspects of the team because they're scared to have to go into another rebuild for the second time in less than 10 years. And so I think that they have to do one of two things. They really have to buy into Mike McDaniels, buy into this regime, go full in, extend your star players, make trades at the trade deadline to make your roster better, or you need to fire Mike McDaniels. You just fired the GM. You need to go out there and you need to trade some of your star players to go into the draft, go into the offseason with ammunition to build around your new regime, whoever that might be, in a way that they want to. Because if they do fire Mike McDaniels, it's going to be a brand new regime, offensively, defensively, special teams wise. And so there's going to be players that might be very good players right now that won't fit the regime. And now you're going to get less value for them. The value is the highest for players at the trade deadline because teams who feel like they're one piece away, two pieces away, they're going to be a little bit more desperate. When you get into the offseason, several players league-wide are becoming available. And when there's a surplus of good players that are available for trade, the value of the players is ultimately going to go down because there's so many different options. And so I do agree with you, Dan. I do think Miami did drop the ball here, and they need to decide, are we going to the right and are we sticking with this regime and fully bought in? Or are we going to look to the left side and just completely reset this thing? You can't be in the middle. That's what bad teams do. And that's what keeps teams every single year in this purgatory state where you're winning 5-6 games.
And so I could see a world where they wanted to make the GM make his own decisions, say that he does want to trade Waddle or he does want to walk away from some of these other contracts. It's his own decision. But at the exact same time, what competent GM would want to keep those players of the old regime still on that roster? Because their DNA of what they've been building for the past couple of years clearly does not work. Like we saw the high-flying offense with Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle, and what did that get them? Not a lot. Not a lot. Richie, thoughts on the Miami Dolphins and how they run their organization?
Yeah, man. I mean, I said on the Bleacher Report show that the Dolphins could be having a fire sale, and it didn't. They just made one trade, and it makes you wonder what is the plan moving forward. You fire Chris Grier, and when you fired Chris Grier, everyone's like, okay, well, Chris Grier is the guy that is holding on to everything. He doesn't want to trade everybody because he realizes that everybody that's here are the guys that he brought in, and he wants to win with them. So they fire him just to make one trade. I mean, it takes two to tango. Maybe there wasn't teams out there as interested in Waddle or Fitzpatrick or these guys as much as they thought, but I don't understand the philosophy for the Miami Dolphins at the deadline. This was their opportunity to kind of reset, retool, add some, ammunition because you're not winning with this core. And I don't know if what their plan is, because you have Tua Tagovailoa now under contract next year. You can eat a lot of dead cap if you want to get rid of him, but I don't think that's going to happen. And it seems like their head coach is still trying to save his job. He's not going anywhere. There's a chance that the Dolphins run it back with McDaniel. He got extended last year. So I don't know if Ross wants to fire him and have to pay him a lot of money on top of a new head coach, on top of a new GM. The Miami Dolphins are in shambles, and I don't want to be that guy, but I told you so. I mean, I have been on record about the Miami Dolphins all offseason, and people called me a Dolphins hater and all these things, and I was just keeping it as real as I possibly could about it. I saw this coming from a mile away. Like, this team was destined to blow everything up, but they did not blow it up properly, in my opinion. They fired their GM. They haven't fired their head coach yet. They should. And they're a bad organization, losing football games. And yeah, I know the Jets have a worse record. I'm not saying that we're good or anything like that. I'm not saying the Jets are in a better spot. Maybe we are. But at the end of the day, I saw this coming from a mile away based off of the offseason and all their moves.
Damn. Well, I will tell you what, we need to transition over to the big storyline of the trade deadline. That's the damn New York Jets, man. The New York Jets out there going on a fire sale. And you know what? Bravo, Richie, because that's how I think Miami should have handled their trade deadline as well.
Well, we also have better players than the Dolphins, so like that's why we're
true.
Going to get.
Yeah. Very, very true. However, your GM stood pat on his price for all of these players. I can give him a lot of credit for that. I don't think Miami was in that position, but you guys certainly were. I think it speaks volumes when you deny the Kansas City Chiefs Breece Hall. Thank you so much for that. However, Sauce Gardner over to the Indianapolis Colts. I think we can all agree, like James Palmer said on Bleacher Report, Sauce Gardner on the Jets was more of a luxury, right? And it didn't really make a whole lot of sense based off of where your team was as a whole. And with the value that you were able to get from him in 2 first-round picks, absolutely. Followed by Quinnen Williams, first round, a second round. By the way, I did see his brother. I saw his interview earlier today where he said he was going through his own problems and he was trying to get his starting job back. Wow. A lot of things are going on in New York as we could speak. But now that everything is over with, are you happy the Jets went about the trade deadline as they did?
I am very impressed. That's how I'm going to look at it. I'm impressed. It feels like we have grown men running this football team. This was Darren Muji's opportunity, our GM, to kind of show us the type of general manager he is. He was not shopping Sauce Gardner. He wasn't calling everybody like, hey, man, we want to trade Sauce. So let me make sure that's clear. Sauce was never up for sale. The entire NFL world had no idea that Sauce was even up for grabs because the Colts were the ones that aggressively wanted him. The Colts called the Jets a few weeks ago about Sauce. The Jets were like, we're not trading Sauce unless you give us a ridiculous offer. And then the Colts came back this week and they gave him a very aggressive offer. And if you offer the Jets 2 first-round picks and a wide receiver in A.D. Mitchell, who went in the second round, who did not fit well in that organization, has upside on a team that desperately needs wide receiver help, I mean, it really does reset the entire outlook of this team. And the Jets love Azareye'h Thomas, their corner they drafted at FSU. I love A.Z. Thomas as well. He was the guy I told you guys at the Senior Bowl, and I'm on record saying this. I'm like, yo, that dude from FSU, if there was someone that reminds me of Sauce, it's A.Z. Thomas. And the Jets ended up drafting him. I thought he would be the guy that could be a long-term answer next to Sauce, not the guy to replace Sauce. So that was a little weird there. But so A.Z. Thomas is now going to start in his place. And there's 2 reactions that you have as a Jets fan. There's the immediate reaction of shock and what? Our favorite players are gone? Quinnen and Sauce? That stinks. Those are our favorite guys. Those are the faces of the defense. But then you step back and look at the business perspective. The Jets have a ridiculous amount of draft picks in the next 2 drafts. They've freed up their cap space. This is what a real rebuild is about. Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn have every single reason now to build a team their way. But at the end of the day, if they don't land their quarterback, none of this matters. That's the big thing. Will the Jets go in the draft to get their quarterback? Will they go in free agency? Will they trade for one? That's the next question. But the fact that the Jets were gung-ho and they were stern on their assets of what they were going to get for these players, they did not budge. I love that. They're not just pushovers. They're not a team that's like, oh, well, all right, fine. We'll give up this guy for that amount, even though our price is this. Like, no, they are absolutely grounded in their prices. And the value they got for Quinnen still blows my mind. A first and a second for Quinnen. I know Smith was a throw-in,
Jerry
but
Jones.
absolutely ridiculous
Jerry
value
Jones,
the Jets
man,
got.
come on.
He's
And the fact
compensating
that
right
they
now.
got a 2027 first instead of the 26 first-round pick is very, very good because, hey, all I'm going to say is the 2027 class is absolutely stacked. And for everybody, the last thing I'll say that says Sauce Gardner is overrated and Sauce Gardner is trash and everything, he just went for 2 first-round picks. I mean, that's a big price to pay for an overrated trash player. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Damn.
And the Jets did when they extended Sauce. They're thinking ahead. They made sure that contract they gave him was tradable. That is also forward thinking. I got to say this, man. I'm very, very impressed with Darren Muji. I think he has done a tremendous job as GM, trading for Brownlee, trading for these guys, getting players in return. I think is very important. The Jets have a big hole at wide receiver. They get A.D. Mitchell. Let's not forget they got John Mechie III, 2 former second-round picks. The Jets are desperate for youth at that position. They got it. And now they're taking swings. And this team is obviously in a rebuild mode. And now the Jets got everything that possibly can from an ammunition perspective. How were the Lions able to break through their rebuild? They had a plethora of draft picks and they hit grand slams in the draft. Now it's all on the Jets to do the same.
All on the Jets to do the same. Sitting on a treasure trove of first-round picks, but we all know that those are going to be packaged and sent over to Arizona for K1 to be your quarterback.
Joey B, bro. Joey
You were on Bleacher Report. You would know.
Funny enough, dude, funny enough, man, like with our buddy Jesse when he came in here earlier, he was like, we would take a second pick for Brock Purdy. That would be hysterical.
Mac Jones for a bridge
really
quarterback. So we kick the can down the road for, another bridge, and then we draft our quarterback
for 2027. Yeah. You can go after that Ohio State kid. He's a freshman now, so you're going to have to wait a little bit, but yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets go for another bridge quarterback this year to kind of just make sure this team is ready for the quarterback, because the last thing they can do is get a quarterback in here when we're not really ready. You got to fill out the roster. It's a very interesting spot the Jets are in, man. I am very shocked that they were able to do what they were able to do, man.
And so you would need Fields on a post-June 1st cut designation in order to make it work.
I mean, we have so much cash. Even if we cut him outright, it's like...
burn it. Why not? Yeah, burn it, baby. All right, Colby, what do you got, man, on the Jets trade deadline? Were you happy with what they did from an objective perspective?
I mean, as a Patriots fan for a second, obviously I'm happy that they're trading away 2 of arguably some of the biggest defenders in the NFL, obviously the biggest defenders, for that team. That makes 2025 obviously a whole lot easier for the Patriots in terms of, I wasn't worried about those games before, but now you're definitely not worried about those games. And so that's definitely positive. But from an outside perspective, I mean, just really, really good job by the Jets. I mean, that was my thought process through this. You understood where you were at. And that's the difference between the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, which direction do we want to go? The Jets accepted their fate. It's a brand new system. We're a 1-win team. We're not doing well. Let's just trade house with guys that are not fitting this system per se, or guys that are older. Let's bring in younger guys. Let's get these guys on rookie deals, and let's build this thing from the ground up in the way that we want to do so. And you have a crap ton of draft picks to be able to do whatever you want. It kind of reminds me in some ways what the Miami Dolphins did a few years ago when they were trading off all of these players. They entered a full-on rebuild. They used some of those draft picks in the draft, but they used some of those draft picks to get established players that fit their system. They got Tyreek Hill. They got Jalen Ramsey. And I think that that's something else that the New York Jets can do that. I don't think a lot of people are necessarily talking about. Everybody's looking, we have this draft pick and that draft pick. Who are guys we want in the draft? But also be looking at who are guys that you want that you could potentially be making trades for, because I promise you, the New York Jets are not going to use every single one of those picks just on the draft. They're going to use some of those to package together some trades and bring some players in. I can almost guarantee you that. And so they did part 1, but you're just getting started. This is not the end. You are just getting started with the actual battle. And that is making sure you use those draft picks correctly. It's easy to get draft picks, but it's a completely other thing to make sure that you hit on those draft picks. And that's been a problem for the New York Jets, is making sure that they hit on those picks. And at the end of the day, it's great if you have the capital, but you have that capital to be able to bring in good players and update your roster. And so if you don't hit on those, now the New York Jets are setting themselves back for at least the next decade. This is going to be, this offseason, next offseason, 2 of the biggest offseasons that maybe we have seen under the New York Jets ever. If you do not do this correctly, you are setting yourselves back for, at minimum, the next decade. So I love the moves. Honestly, when it comes to the Sauce Gardner trade, I wasn't necessarily as impressed by the Jets because again, like Richie said, they weren't shopping Sauce. I don't think the Jets front office did anything special. My big takeaway about that was the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, the fact that they gave away 2 first-round picks, damn, if I'm the Jets, I'm saying, except you can't go back. You already said 2 first-round picks because we see quarterbacks going for that value. Sometimes quarterbacks don't even go for that high. So the fact that they got that for a cornerback is absolutely mind-boggling to me. The only constructive criticism that I really have with the Jets is that, look, if you're really going into this full-on rebuild, you're trashing 2025, I would have also gotten rid of Breece Hall. Supposedly, you guys wanted a 3rd-round pick. Casey offered a 4th-round pick in return, and you stayed pat, and you kind of did the Miami Dolphins route. Well, if you don't give us the 3rd, we're not getting rid of him. Breece Hall wants out of New York. He requested his trade at the end of the day. And so considering he's in a contract year, considering he doesn't want to be in New York, I don't see a situation where Breece Hall is going to be on the New York Jets long-term after this year. I think you should have traded him, gotten something for him anyway. There's no point in saying, oh, but we want to keep good players on our team. For what? You trying to win games? No, you made it clear you're not trying to win games. And I've seen the idea that, oh, well, if we stick with him and we allow him to go into free agency, then we'll get our 3rd-round comp pick anyway. And more likely than not, no, you're not going to get that 3rd-round comp pick. In order to get a 3rd-round comp pick, you would need Breece Hall to go into free agency, sign a contract that is in the top 5% of free agent contracts in next year's offseason. On top of that, if the Jets go out there and make big moves in free agency, it's going to offset itself, and now you're not getting a comp pick anyway. So that's one guy I would have gotten rid of. I do like the fact that you guys did also, and this is the last thing I'll say, I do like the fact that you guys did also add some younger players who maybe didn't work out with their teams. Sometimes they just need a change of scenery. When it comes to Mozzie Smith, don't expect a whole lot from him. He's not going to be your Quinnen Williams replacement. This is a guy that's a really just a pure nose tackle. He's going to come in, big body, stop the run, really not giving you much upside as a pass rusher. He's had some really difficult seasons in back-to-back years. As for A.D. Mitchell, please do not think that this is going to be your next coming at wide receiver. Same thing with John Mechie. I know that Jets fans, They kind of have this new thing coming in, and all of a sudden it's like they won the lottery. It's best case scenario. A.D. Mitchell, yes, you can say part of it was on the system, but he's worked with several different quarterbacks, and he has struggled with several different quarterbacks. I mean, a passer rating when target of 66.5 this season. Last year, it was also in that 60 range too. And so we'll see if you guys can get more out of him, but don't think you're getting a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2. I do still think that at best, A.D. Mitchell is going to be a depth piece for you, but why not see what you guys can ultimately get from him? So I do agree with that.
One thing I'll add about the Breece situation that the Jets do have leverage is the franchise tag. So they could tag him and force his hand to stay here next year. They have all the cash in the world. It's like the top 5 average salary, and it's like fully guaranteed against the cap that year. And the Jets got all the cap in the world. So if they really wanted to keep Breece and next year, I would assume like 13, 14, 15-ish, or maybe even cheaper than that, because that's something I think the Jets are probably going to do is franchise tag him so he can't walk. And because he's a good player, the Jets don't want him. They obviously value him. And obviously they said no to the Chiefs for that 4th. And maybe that's what they want to do because, you know, they didn't trade anybody on offense. They're trying to, and they added players on offense. So make sure that's noted. They traded defensive players, not offensive players. And they realized that this Jets team has had a big issue with offense for years and years and years. They added players at wide receiver. They kept Breece Hall, kept Garrett Wilson. So we'll see if they keep Breece on the franchise tag. But we shall see. We shall see.
It looks like probably like $15 to $20 million you'd be giving him.
Yeah. So I was just looking at your defense on PFF, bro, and they don't even have a picture for Azareye'h Thomas.
Bunch of
dogs. It's just the Jets logo. It's just the Jets logo.
Hey, bro, what do you mean?
For him.
That's disrespectful.
Yeah, Quincy Williams, who we just mentioned, allegedly lost his job. He's fighting for his job back.
I'll give you a
Briggs fills in. To fill against that crazy Cleveland Brown. That's going to be an awful game this week, man. Holy hell.
Don't sleep on Azareye'h Thomas. That's my boy. All right. The new Sauce Gardner, baby. Woo. And Brandon Stevens. You see that guy? Brandon Stevens. He's the #1 graded corner in football since week 4 or week 3 or something like that.
18th overall, not bad.
Brutal start to the season. He's been picking it up. And the Jets won. Their only win was without Sauce, which is funny. So the Jets obviously have a lot of high expectations for Azareye'h Thomas. But yeah, the defense is obviously taking a step back without Quinnen. The Jets have no defensive tackle depth now that you can be excited about. But we shall see, man. The Jets got some pieces on offense. Offensive line is solid. And we shall see what they do. Yeah, John Simpson, he's definitely going to walk in free agency, most likely. He's a free agent, and we're probably going to go in the draft and get our left guard for the future.
He's probably going to get the hell up out of there. That's for damn sure.
And don't sleep on Mason Taylor, baby.
Well, hey, we can shift to some more exciting news with two teams that
that was
have
exciting.
winning records until they're back on our schedule.
Right now, Dan.
All right, once they're back on the schedule, man, we could talk a little Bills.
Didn't make any moves, Dan. I would have been scared if you guys went out and got a wide receiver. I really would.
Well, we hung up on you for Garrett Wilson.
I think that's actually a good segue. So because both of our teams were quiet, like during this deadline,
disappointingly, Dan.
And
you guys are so boring, dude. You should be more fun. Like,
yeah, we sat on our hands.
I feel like losing and trading honestly, the deadline's cooler than winning games.
So when you look at all of the teams that are currently in the playoff picture right now in the AFC, virtually all of them sat on their hands with the exception of the Indianapolis Colts. Every other team in the AFC that has a playoff spot right now just rode with what they had. So it's not just the Bills. It's not just the Patriots. It was the Colts. It was the Steelers as well, who was, I suppose, aggressive at the deadline as well. But so I think a lot of Bills fans were mad about the whole wide receiver thing, but I think this anger is kind of weird. I'm not mad that Brandon Beane didn't submit a better bid for Rashid Shaheed. Like, that guy is a wide receiver 1 upside sort of dude. For a 3rd and a 6th, I'm not mad about that. I'm not mad about Jacoby Myers going over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both of those guys, if you have been watching me for the past couple of weeks, those two were at the bottom of my list. I said, if anything, if we are going to make a move on the outside for a receiver, then I wanted it to be a dude. I wanted it to be the Jalen Waddles of the world. I wanted it to be the Olaves. I wanted it to be the Garrett Wilsons of the world. And Brandon Beane made calls. And that is now a known fact that he ultimately tried to call the Dolphins and the New York Jets for Waddle and Garrett Wilson. I don't know the specifics of what he offered. He just said that, quote unquote, they weren't available to us and they weren't willing to ship them over to the Buffalo Bills.
You're right.
So does it suck that we weren't able to go on ahead and bring either of those two guys to our roster? Sure. But like, it's funny because like really when it came into true wide receiver 1s that were even remotely available, those were the only 3 names that interest me. I did not want Calvin Ridley. And so I heard that Buffalo is also somewhat interested in Deebo Samuel, which I wouldn't have been too excited about either if that were to go through. So like, this is how I look at it, right? Josh Allen has often said that he has no weapons, but when you look at all across the field, right now where it stands, as far as advanced metrics, Dalton Kincaid is the best tight end in football. As far as EPA per target and DVOA. And so Richie does not believe anything that doesn't come from Madden, like Madden ratings. Like, he's not a high Madden rating type guy. Listen, man, like, we're talking about advanced football here, kids. Advanced football we're talking about right now. But no, it is an absolute fact. With Dalton Kincaid is by and large the best tight end in the National Football League with all advanced metrics.
This is the problem, man. This right here.
Why did you call me out like that? How do you know?
He said you watch Madden.
Yeah. He's obsessed with those Madden statistics. No. Look, he is the best tight end. You have James Cook, who is the second best running back in the NFL with all advanced metrics, only second to Jonathan Taylor, and literally the difference is about 0.1%. And we have the number 1 pass protecting offensive line in the league. We have the number 2 run blocking offensive line in the league. So how I look at it is there is no excuse. That is enough on paper. Remove the Buffalo Bills name. If you have a team that has top 3 in all of those position groups, quarterback, offensive line, running back, and a tight end, that should be enough to win you a Super Bowl. Because when you end up looking at defenses where they end up spending their money, the majority of the money that they spend in their secondary are on perimeter corners. That's where the majority of cap funnels into. Buffalo struggles targeting outside of the numbers. So when Buffalo runs into teams that have a top 3 run defense, but also excel in coverage in between the numbers, then yeah, like we're probably going to be having some issues with that. But those teams are few and far between. You need elite personnel to run those sort of game plans. If not, then every single team would be running that game plan on the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills would not have won a game all season. So how I look at it is, yeah, I'm pissed that we didn't bring in a wide receiver, but at the exact same time, how we are structured, how we are built, in my eyes, there's still no excuse. This is still a roster that can compete for a Super Bowl. And there's no excuse, wide receiver or not. That's kind of how I look at it.
Wow.
It's kind of how I look
Built
at
to win a Super Bowl. Super Bowl or bust? AFC Championship in hell is a disappointment.
That roster's not built to win a Super Bowl, man. Come on.
So I do like Nick
on, bro.
Harbor out of South Carolina for the draft next year for a receiver on the outside.
Already talking draft day. Come on, what happened to Super Bowl?
Dude,
Already
look, man,
talking
I
draft.
cover the NFL, right? I'm going to the Senior Bowl, right?
Dan,
I'm trying to prep myself. I'm trying to get familiar.
Flex it.
I'm trying to get familiar a little bit. You know what I mean?
With the
I'm going to the
27th
Senior
overall
Bowl
pick,
again.
the Buffalo Bills select.
31st, probably. Yeah, we'll get bounced by the Lions, probably.
So Dan has them going to the Super Bowl, but getting spanked.
Yeah.
If there's one thing we know
We'll get
about
bounced by the
Buffalo, that is what
Lions, man.
happens.
We'll go 0-5 in the Super Bowl, probably.
Oh.
That's probably what it's going to be.
I can guarantee you when Josh Allen gets to his first Super Bowl, he's losing it. Come on.
Dude, there's
And so I'd rather not go at all.
Losing the Super Bowl.
Nah,
And so I'd
you
rather
want-
not go at all.
You want to be there. You're going to be there interviewing the boys, bro. You
Yeah.
want
But like,
them to go.
dude, like, oh my God, I wouldn't even. Oh my God. Anyway, Colby, similar situation for the New England Patriots. It sounds like your fan base was pretty upset that you guys did not make a move. What is your message to Patriots fans in regards to that?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's the trade deadline. And I think that a lot of people see the trade deadline and they see an opportunity to just do something fun. Oh, this is like Madden. We get to upgrade the roster. We get a new player. I can't wait to see what the new player does. I can't wait to look at that name on the back of the jersey. And maybe I'll even get his jersey. I think that's what the majority of fans kind of want from this. But did the Patriots need to go out there and make a move? No. And I think that you see a team like the Colts, they're buying into the window that they have right now. They're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I think we always forget what the name of the game is for the Patriots this season. It's not a Super Bowl. It's not a deep playoff run. That's not what this team is right now built to do. That wasn't the philosophy behind the season. The philosophy was, can this team get to 8 or 9 wins, double their win total of last year, show that they are building on something and take that into 2026? Can this be a place that establishes a winning culture and an identity and people want to play for New England again? If they get to the playoffs, at that point, anything is house money. You know, if they lose in the first round of the playoffs, who cares? They're already well ahead of schedule. If they go to the AFC Championship game and then lose, guess what? They're still ahead of schedule. And so I think that, yes, you wanted to see the team maybe make some moves to try and go on a deeper run, but they absolutely did not need to because they're not one piece away. This New England Patriots team is still multiple pieces away from truly competing. And so they were making trade calls. I do think that they wanted edge rusher and running back. From what it sounds like, they did want Jalen Phillips. I never thought that it was going to happen. Dan, I kind of laughed when you mentioned that your team was looking at 2 wide receivers in division. That's absolutely comical because division trades don't happen. They more specifically don't happen with big name players, because if you're doing that, you're making your team bad by shipping off a star player, but you're making your job even harder down the line because now you have to play a team twice a year that's in division that you just made better. Those moves don't happen. And then you started to see all these other edge players go off the board, and it was like, yeah, this team's not going to make a move. More specifically, they were calling about Tony Pollard. A lot of the guys that the Patriots were calling about We're a part of the Tennessee Titans. Makes a ton of sense. Mike Gribble used to play there, has connections with these players, knows how to utilize these guys immediately straight off the bat. But based off reports, the owner of Tennessee was vetoing any trade to New England because she's still upset about how things went with Mike Vrabel. And that's exactly why the Tennessee Titans are a bad organization, because of moves just like that. We're upset that you were close to the New England Patriots, that we fired you. Now you're on the New England Patriots, so we're not going to make any trades that could potentially help our team right now. That's what bad organizations do. And so I think that's also what ultimately came down to the Patriots not making a move. Last thing I'll say is that I do believe they would have made a move with Tennessee if not for that reason, but it wasn't going to be a big move. You were either getting a Tony Pollard, you were getting an Arden Key, you were getting a depth piece in the secondary. You weren't getting like a number one bona fide player. So is what it is.
Number one player prop platform on the face of the planet. Very simple process. You cook your parlays up with as many players as you'd like, and as long as you accurately predict all of their projections, either above or below, you could see winnings of up to 1,000x your play. Signing up, you get a free $20. All right. It's the best promo in the game as we speak. And then say that you do decide to put down a deposit. They are matching 100% of that all the way up to $100. Maybe you want to like be ballsy and make a parlay for this Jets and Browns game. I mean, if you could hit on that, my friend, because it's virtually unpredictable at this point, you truly would know ball. Shout out to Sleeper for being a proud partner of this show, and go on ahead and take advantage of that free $20 by signing up and using our code RTS. Shout out to Sleeper. We appreciate that. And send us your parlays on X.